Welcome back to the show. The world's changing fast in crypto and all around. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.39 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 0.5%. 61,500 plus for Bitcoin, 3,300 plus for Ethereum. USD Tether market cap is 112.9 billion plus at the moment. And starting tomorrow, USD Tether will not qualify inside of the EU, which is 27 nations, as a stable coin. So we will see how that will look starting tomorrow. USDC sitting at 32.3 billion plus, which is why we've been monitoring that market cap. XRP's 47 cents. We're actually off by 0.4 in the 24-hour and off by 2.6 on the 7-day. Again, where will the real USD sit on this list once it's launched? And will tomorrow be the day that it is launched so it doesn't miss any opportunity to scoop up that market cap that's being cut out in the EU? I don't know, but we'll keep an eye on it. We will keep an eye on it. Ranging between 47 and 48 cents, ladies and gentlemen. It's driving me crazy when I see it 2 for $1. Blue light special in aisle X. Not financial advice. The SEC delays Ethereum ETF approval. Wait a minute. All right, well, it was supposed to be July 2nd. Now it's looking like July 8th. This is the SEC, right? The agency that does not embarrass very easily. Apparently, they sent back the S1 forms for minor changes, and they are expected to be submitted back to the SEC by July 8th, as you can see right here. So, and then from there, the ETFs must go through the two-stage process of the S1 before becoming operational, and then the first steps towards the approval of the spot Ethereum ETFs would be the issuers of 19B4 forms in May, which was granted by the SEC as per the initial set deadline. However, there has been no specific deadline set for the S1 forms, and the issuers are dependent on the SEC's response time of July 8th. And we know that these actors include BlackRock, Fidelity, 21 Shares, Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, VanEck, iShares, and Invesco. That's where we're at here. We'll keep an eye on it, but you know they're going to get approved. Meanwhile, MICA regulations, as we brought up, in the EU, representing 27 nations, goes live tomorrow. And what is there today, right? So they're ahead of us. So that's what's happening here. And it's exciting because this puts further pressure on the United States of America to get legislation done. And you know we're close here. We are super close to getting it done here. And we will watch it. But I want you to hear this clip on the MICA going live.
Question is, how do you think other regions will look to regulate crypto?
Exactly.
So I feel MICA, along with the recent statements from the SEC and CTC, will really set the tone for crypto regulation globally. This is that crypto assets and the digital asset industry as a whole needs to meet the same standards in such things as governance, transparency, and prevention of market abuse that applies to traditional marketplaces. For market abuse, more specifically, it's going to be very similar to the impact of MAR when that came in the EU as well. The additional detail provided by the MICA rules and the practical steps in their eventual application are going to be watched very tightly by, I would say, almost every other jurisdiction in the world as they're writing their own crypto regulations right now.
No doubt about it. And it's getting exciting because it puts further pressure on the United States to get regulation done here at home. That's the point. And then you're talking about understanding as well that if you're pushing USD Tether outside of the EU for compliance, you're cutting out massive liquidity flows from the European Union to USD Tether. If that same thing happens in the United States with regulation and they cut out the liquidity flow and access to the United States market to USD Tether, you will know without a doubt that they are looking to collapse USD Tethers, no question about it. Meanwhile, Ripple's Cassie Craddock emphasizes U.S. regulatory challenges and praises the EU MICA regulations for clarifying the crypto industry, as she heavily criticized the United States crypto regulations, as you can see here, pointing out that the European regulatory advancements are like a beacon of progress. No question about it. We need to get that pressure back here at home because look at what's happening. This was in light of the new big win for clarity for secondary market sales for digital assets here. And this is a big win because it's really dealing with the Binance decision. Stuart Alderati, Chief Legal Officer from Ripple, comes in and says, for all the SEC has done to muddy the waters with its inconsistent legal theories, the courts are seeing right through them. The Binance decision last night is long, but absolutely worth a read. Jeremy Hogan comes in and says, don't forget the judge's criticism that the SEC's oversight by litigation is not the best way to oversee crypto and leaves market participants without clear guidance. Even the judges are starting to question the approach from the SEC itself. Now, what's important in this Binance case, aside from what Jeremy Hogan pointed out here, is the fact that the Binance judge, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, cited the Ripple judgment. I bet Charles Gasparino is not doing too well with that one today. Sad, huh? Meanwhile, I have a fantastic thread from Luke Thomas, and I do not know who Luke Thomas is, and forgive me if I should know Luke, but I know this. You're a smart gentleman, and you lay down a fantastic thread about SEC and the Ripple case and where things currently are, and I want to share it with all of you very quickly. He says, it's been 15 days since the SEC came back saying, let's settle this case with Ripple for $102 million, and you would have imagined Ripple to pounce on this and settle it, considering the SEC wanted $2 billion earlier. But here's the thing. It's not about the money. He's absolutely right. And he highlights in here, if you remember, when the SEC came in and said, forget the $2 billion, $102 billion, that's really where we need to be. And they were citing the Terra case. Well, Luke Thomas goes on and says, it's about the constant bullying that the SEC has done with Ripple and the XRP community. Now, with Biden most likely being replaced by another Democrat nominee for the election, Gary Gensler's air cover in being a crypto bully is getting diminished exponentially. The U.S. has been an epicenter for innovation, embraced several disruptive technologies for decades, but the SEC with Gary Gensler's leadership has made sure that when it comes to crypto land, particularly with XRP, they're going to choke the crypto industry full on. Now you got several multi-billion-dollar companies like Ripple, Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Gemini winning cases against the SEC and also lobbying for Trump too. What's the end goal? The SEC was set in place to protect the best interests of retail investors, and it's done just the opposite, especially with the XRP community for the past 4 years, despite having nothing concrete to win the case against Ripple. This is absolutely accurate. The Judge Torres is taking her time to make the verdict in all the cases that the SEC is losing against the other crypto companies with decisions made by the different judges. Will give her enough leverage to make a decision on the verdict, which will definitely be in Ripple's favor. But as an XRP holder for years now, I want Judge Torres to set an example that no one is above the law. The SEC needs to be imposed a huge fine and pay back Ripple for spending more than $200 million fighting this case and giving hope not only to the XRP community, but also to other crypto companies who have struggled with the bullying and fighting it out against the SEC with some filing bankruptcy or shutting down as they couldn't fight it or out to the very end. And we saw that happen. We saw that happen already. Hence, Judge Torres' verdict on the Ripple case will be a showstopper, as it will reinforce the faith into the judicial system and ensure that if a government institution like the SEC doesn't work in the best interest of retail investors, the law, it will take the right course. So, my fellow XRP army and community, Victory is ours eventually, and we'll be able to enjoy new all-time highs for XRP nearly 6+ years, because in the end, Ripple will be the first double-digit trillion-dollar company with XRP being its core DNA. Luke Thomas, give him a follow. You're damn right. Well said, Luke. And again, highlighting that Judge Jackson in the Binance case uses Judge Torres's decision that secondary sales of crypto, including XRP, are not securities. Go Judge Jackson. Precedent has been established, ladies and gentlemen. Sad, huh? Yeah, Gasparino. The truth behind the Petrodollar agreement, and I'll break this down so the video is not long, is that it's an open-ended agreement. It was never a solid contract per se. It was an open-ended agreement. And yes, that is true as we understand it. And yes, it is true that no such agreement actually had an expiration date. But let me tell you what else is true. Project Sandman, Operation Sandman, where 100+ nations intend to de-dollarize the US dollar simultaneously with more than $2 trillion to harm us and our dollar strength around the world. Now, do they want to do that at the cost of harming themselves? I don't believe so. But the truth is here, as this gentleman says, there was no real deal. But again, this is a bit tongue-in-cheek. I know he doesn't intend it to be, but Steve Hanke, economist and professor here, doesn't acknowledge, as he says, look, there was really no real deal here. The Saudi Arabia can trade in whatever currency they want. There was no full-on actual deal. And I understand that to be true also. But if you want to sit here and try to convince the world, along with myself and all of you, that the United States dollar has not experienced any favor from being traded exclusively in dominance in US dollars with oil trade, then you're a fool. Because if you think that that's not been an advantage to the dollar, then I don't know where you've been, but you got a few more books to read. And I'm not a book reader. The reality is this. The gold standard underpinned the dollar's dominance until France called out that card, because they saw them spending, making too many notes and loans and payments and spending too much money in the U.S. So they came back to call the gold. Then we went to the Petrodollar, exclusive agreement to use the U.S. dollar in all oil trade to make it dominant more than a national currency, but be respected as a global reserve currency. That's where the favor has come from. Now, whether that's a legit agreement or not, that's been where the favor has come from. You can argue about that all day long. That's a fact, Jack. I want you to listen to this very quickly, 48 seconds.
What is Project Sandman?
Project Sandman is a coordinated attack planned by the BRICS countries on the United States. The kill shot is going to include a coordinated sell-off of at least $2+ trillion in treasuries, which will collapse the United States debt market, followed by the stock market shortly thereafter.
Wow.
These events will freeze the U.S. economy and obliterate the value of all fiat U.S. dollar-denominated assets.
And there you have it. Basically causing a giant poop storm, right? That's what we're talking about.
Prices, whether it's your food prices, the entire global economic system is reliant on the safe and secure dollar. But that is no longer true, again, because we've been printing money like crazy and devalued the power of the dollar and the value of the dollar. But on top of it now, again, oil is the critical linchpin of this. If Saudi Arabia decides to join with America's enemies here and start trading oil in different currencies, that is going to undermine the entire global economic system. And here at home, you know what it's going to mean for us? It's going to mean raging inflation, so much worse than anything we have ever experienced, Will.
Yeah. And that means you would have to have a lot of stablecoin issuers to soak up this raging hyperinflation and inflation if it doesn't become hyperinflation. That way you can offer a true digital dollar on the phone to your actual citizens that are using it around the world. That's the truth. Don't believe it, it's still true. Meanwhile, U.S. banks dumping exposure to $2.5 trillion market, facing inevitable losses. What is that market? Commercial real estate. That's the market. Nationwide, 625 commercial real estate foreclosures. 117% surge year over year. That means that banks are getting crushed on every angle. The loss of value in the dollar, the loss of value in portfolio and commercial real estate. Take a listen to Raul Ivani here and where the world's really going here. I really do believe that the real USD will play a massive role in bringing us and ushering us into the new fourth industrial revolution.
We're not looking at a single asset future or a single chain future. The future is going to be a multi-asset, multi-chain future. And what you use will depend on the use case, right? And the key is going to be interoperability. You need to be able to move assets across chains, right? So a good example is, the Ripple stablecoin will be issued on the XRP ledger, but on Ethereum as well. So that allows you to use, the speed, the efficiency, the low cost of the XRP ledger, bridge that with the native smart contract capabilities of Ethereum. And that allows you more utility, right? So I think it just comes down to use cases. For some use cases, CBDCs will make the most sense. For some use cases, stablecoins will make the most sense. And when it comes to an interoperable and, cross-border aspect, we feel that, some assets like XRP will also make sense.
So you're not just insisting on XRPs, but rather, make it compatible with ETH.
It's about the interoperability.
Wow.
There you have it. No question about it. That's what it's about. And if you can establish that interoperability, listen to this.
Do you believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as the reserve currency. And I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks, like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, only like 10 banks in the country, on the planet, are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the U.S., that's grown the U.S. economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the U.S. holding its position, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the US dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the US dollar. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, that just if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.
How you get everybody to agree? I don't know. Maybe the contention that puts centrally at issue with the express terms of more than 1,700 separate contracts. I've been telling you forever that pre-allocation of option contracts are real because it's what they did with Greg Kidd. It's what they did with R3. I'm not guessing. The only thing I'm guessing at is who the 1,700 contracts went to and what for and for how much. That part we don't know. But there's no reason to think that some of those contracts wouldn't involve countries just like they involved R3 and Greg Kidd. Looking at the charts right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is looking pretty sexy, even at 47 cents. Just laying over the fractal here. Interesting to see what happens when laying the last part of the fractal on top of the next fractal. You can see where he lays 2017, 2018, starting back here. He overlays that, tries to get it to line up. And if you could see, wow, could we see something towards the end of the year here? I don't know. End of summer? I don't know. There's no guarantee here. But one thing we do know is Eggrag Crypto says from here to here, looking at where we are currently, at the 47 cent range, says with all the saga in the last couple of weeks, the monthly time frame candle formation is closing above Fibonacci 0.236, which is right here. The next target will be Fibonacci 0.5, right here. It says 0.5. Flip it with conviction. In other words, conviction, strong conviction, getting over 75 cents. And then we fly to Fibonacci 1.618, which is up here at $6.40 plus. He says, stay steady. Our time will come, and it will be as bright as Cyrus. How about that? NB, Cyrus is the brightest star in the night sky, by the way, for those who don't know. And I want to let you know right now, I did not know until right now. Eggrag Crypto, thank you. It's a very informative channel. That's it. Digital perspectives, not financial advice from me, him, or anyone else. It's just our digital perspectives. And by the way, I want to tell you right now, I know you can't keep up with everything. Listen, go to digitalperspectives.com and click the DPMG and join us there. Markets are collapsing all the way around us. You get the tools you need, investor checklist, portfolio creation, groups and courses, the support of an incredibly brilliant community, a private weekly live stream. This is the time when real wealth is made. Take advantage of this moment right now and join the DPMG. You will get the Freedom Zone for free, which costs almost nothing. We'll throw it in for free. But if you're interested in all of the things that I mentioned, as well as learning how to use automated market makers for the XRP ledger, join us. Click the DPMG at digitalperspectives.com and come on in. We'll catch all of you there. Not financial advice from me or anyone else.